Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. This episode is going to be with my buddy Jordan Jones from Hunting the Mason Dixon. That is a podcast that is based out of North Carolina and is under the Working Class Bow Hunter umbrella. It is their basically Southern podcast. Jordan's a really cool dude. This is going to be a really good episode. We're just going to go through the story of how he got involved in all this and, how he got into hunting and I guess what led him to partner up or be under the WCB umbrella. So before we get started, we have to run through the partners. First up is going to be the Boutique. If you like to customize arrows like I do, the Boutique is your go-to guy. Michael Stonebreaker he's become a really good friend of mine, and he makes an out-of-this-world product. You can literally make any arrow wrap that you want, honestly. So go check him out on Facebook, Instagram, and his website, I believe, is theboutiquellc.com. And if you go up there and you see some stuff you like, you can use the code that he gave me to give to you. It is SEBHP, and that will give you free shipping. Go check him out. Dude, his designs are freaking amazing. Next up is going to be Osseo gear. As you know, I am a huge pusher for Osseo. It is one of the best camo companies on the market. And, I've been a big fan of it, and we've been working with them for now a year and a half, man. It's crazy. So go to their website, osseogear.com. Check out all the camo. Hunting season is coming up quick, man. So once you see something you like, use our promo code SEBH to save 15%. Next up is going to be Summit Tree Stands. My Dual Threat Pro SD is just sitting and waiting, man. 2 months, less than 2 months now till our deer season starts here in Georgia, and I cannot wait. Got some really good bucks on camera. Trike is daylighting a lot, and I cannot wait to put an arrow through them in my Summit. So, if you're kind of lacking, a little bit behind, or you want some new accessories, go to summitstands.com and look at the entire website, pick out what you want, and then at checkout, use the code SEBH15 to get 15% off site-wide. Next up is going to be Scout Tech, man. I was hanging out with Ryan like a week or two ago and got to see the headquarters, which was really cool. Got to, sort of discuss some things that may be coming down the pipeline. As you know, they've got a new app update, and it has made things 10 times easier on that website or on that app. And there's also some talk, really not some talk, it is happening. They will be coming out with their own special edition camera, and also the same camera, but not special edition, right? So there's going to be new cameras coming through, and they are running a sale right now where you can get 2 shadow cameras for $100, and that goes until the end of August. So go to scouttech.com, check them out, and go support those guys. Next up is going to be Ace Hardware and Social Circle. That bow shop is awesome. As you can see, I finally got my bear back. I believe it was over there for a couple of days, and John texted me this morning, was like, hey man, you ready? Sent me videos of the bow shooting the arrows like darts. It looked like laser beams. It was pretty cool. And we got it fixed up, so that bow, as soon as I sighted in, is going to be ready for deer season. And dude, I'm so excited. So if you want to get your bow worked on and you're kind of local around here, go to Ace Hardware and Social Circle. It's east of Atlanta, and then we'll take care of anything you need. Speaking of working on bows, if you want to get a little bit more in depth with your bow tuning, check out Bergie Bowsmith. Bergie has a system of tuning bows, bear shaft tuning bows, that is insane. He also does replacement strings on any bow. This dude has worked on almost every single bow, I think, that's been in existence, at least for the past 20 years. Maybe even longer than that. Dude knows his stuff, and if there's any time that I have a question nobody else can answer, Bergie's my go-to guy. So check out Bergie Bowsmith on Instagram, Facebook. Pretty sure he's got a website. It's just bergiebowsmith.com. And go check him out, dude. There's some big things coming with Bergie for next year, so be ready for that. Next up is going to be VPA. As you guys know, I'm a big single bevel guy. Used to not be, but after shooting the VPA Omega last year, dude, fantastic broadhead. Honestly, there's nothing bad I can say about it. Penetrates well, super sharp, easy to sharpen, all that stuff. And that's just one of 80 different broadheads the VPA offers. They just came out with the Omega Bleeder. So it's the same broadhead, but it's got bleeders now. Right now it's coming in right bevel and 150 to 200 grain. There is some plans to basically, sorry, there's a fly there. There is plans to have them come in left bevel and I believe start at 125 grain. So I am definitely going to be shooting out once that drops because all my stuff is, kind of oriented to the left. I run left helical, all that stuff, man. So check out VPA, go to vparchery.com, check out all the broadheads that they have and pick out one you want. Deer season's coming up soon. I already said it, but I'm gonna tell y'all again. Yeah, man, it's a great company, great products, and we are very blessed to work with them. So go check them out. When you do, if you pick something out you like, use our code SEBH10 to save you 10%. My buddy David just did that, and I think he saved like $25. So, dude, it works, man. We're just trying to help people out, basically help them save a buck. Next up's gonna be Dialed Archery. As you can see behind me, not really that well in the video, but you can see my dialed Arxos. It is the best sight that I've ever used, honestly. Extremely easy to sight it in, extremely easy to use, really well made, and they make so many different custom designs that it honestly can fit every single bow that's on the market. Mine is in Bottomland. I've got it matching up with my Bottomland limbs on my Bear Whitetail Max. And dude, it's just such a good sight. It's so well made. And Scott and the boys over there, Dialed, are just really good guys. So go to dialedarchery.com, check them out. It's kind of late right now to be getting a new sight, but it's such an easy thing to sight in that you could get it a week before deer season and you're set. Last but not least is going to be Camo Dust. I don't really talk about Camo Dust much. It's not that I don't use it. It's just, it's kind of something I just used during deer season. So it kind of slipped my mind a little bit. Sorry, Chris. But Camo Dust is a scent concealment company. It is by far the best stuff I've ever used. It is not a spray. It is a dust. And it is literally just super simple to do. And it works. I mean, literally, I got winded once last year because of rain. And I didn't Camo Dust down enough, or I guess correctly, because I'm still new to it. But, dude, it is such a good product, and it's really affordable. So go to camodust.com, check out everything that they have, and look, man, you can beat a deer's nose. So that's all the partners. As you guys know, there's been a lot of weird, crazy stuff going on lately. Donald Trump just got shot at. Somebody tried to assassinate him, and that kind of shows the, I guess, level of craziness that we're dealing with right now in this country and just in the world. So, it's going to get better. Kind of had me a little on edge there for a minute, but we can't have stuff like that. And the best way I feel to get through tough times and when you're stressing out, imagine if that bullet was 10 centimeters to the right, the whole world would be different. And I consider that an act of God. So, anything like that, I always turn to Jesus. If you don't know him, I'm begging you, please just give him a chance. I'm not trying to throw it at you like that, but in these times, we have to have somebody to turn to that is going to have your back, and he is the best person to do that with. He truly will change your life. I'm a living example of that. So, yeah, that's, I guess, the intro. Try to keep it a little short. This episode of Jordan is going to be fun, and I really cannot wait to get started with it, and I can't wait to have you guys listen to it. So make sure you like our pages, the Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, just all the social medias. And then if you want to watch this video, it is also going to be on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to that because we're going to have weekly videos coming out. And once deer season hits, there may be some stuff coming from that too. So anyway, enough rambling on. Let's get started with Jordan Jones from hunting in the Mason-Dixon. All right, guys, we got my boy, a new friend of mine, thanks to a certain person at Working Class Bow Hunter, who hooked us up, Mr. Jordan Jones from Hunting the Mason-Dixon. If you don't know what that is, it is another Southern podcast that is under the WCB umbrella, which, if that tells you anything, you know that it's damn good. I have been listening to his podcasts. I mean, how long have I known you, Jordan, now? For like, what, a week and a half?
Just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I've listened to quite a few of his episodes. The dude's got it. And, he's working with a lot of, pretty much, in my opinion, the best people in the industry. So, enough of hyping you up and all that shit. Dude, I mean, why don't you tell people who you are and how this happened? Because to be partnered with WCB is like, that's insane. Like, that's a huge thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it all started. I'm Jordan Jones. I'm from North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and I'm the host of the Hunting the Mason Dixon podcast. Um, Man, it was knowing the right people at the right time, being at the right place at the right time, and not kissing ass. That's something that I've learned. Trying to, everybody always wants to be in the hunting industry that hunts. I mean, I don't care what anybody says, we all want to be in it. But the worst thing that I've found out that people do is they kiss ass so much, and that's just not something I do. But got a buddy of mine. His name's Cody Triplett. He kind of introduced me to the guys. I'd always heard about working class bow hunter, but I didn't listen to podcasts. Man, I wasn't a social media guy. Still not really a social media guy to this day. But I'm trying to like run an Instagram page. But yeah, man. Working class, they have this shoot every single year in Illinois. And my buddy Cody, he was like, "Hey man, do you want to go?" I'm like, "Man, I don't know if I want to, drive 12 hours to go shoot my bow. I shoot a lot of archery tournaments around home." And he said, "Man, we'll go up there, have a good time, drink a lot of beer, and just get to know a bunch of these people." And I said, "I mean, hell with it, let's go." And so that year we go up, and they were just so hospitable, and I guess you could say us Southern guys, we've got something about us with the Midwest that they just kind of like to talk to us because we talk funny to them, and and just shot Kurt a message after the first shoot. And I was like, "Hey man, thank you for the hospitality. You might be Southern after all, just in a different part of the country, and then the next year, and I started listening then to the podcast, and then the next year we go back up. And same thing, man. Just the people were so inviting, welcoming. You feel like you're at hunting camp, and all we're doing is shooting at foam targets, and I got a little bit closer to some of the guys there, and it was. We'll just say this: after last year, that's kind of like whenever the CC Hunt Files kind of ended. And then after CC Hunt Files, he had posted on there, it's like, "Hey, we're looking to add another podcast to the network. What do you guys want to hear?" Well, I just shot on there, "Hey, you need some Southern boys, on there." And they're a Midwest podcast, most of them Midwest, Tackle and Tacos. I think they're out of Wisconsin, and it's the fishing podcast. And then you've got Jacob, he lives in Iowa, with the Victory Drive podcast. And I'm like, "Man, let's have a Southern perspective," is what I said. And Kurt just called me, and he's like, "Hey man, I mean, would you be interested in running the podcast?" Running a Southern podcast. And me, I like to talk. I'm in sales. I can talk to a stop sign, but I'm going, "Yeah, man, I'd love to, but I've got a wife and 2 kids at home and full-time job." And I consulted my wife, and I was like, "Hey, listen, my life already consumes a lot of, or deer hunting and hunting in general already consumes, 125% of my life." And are you okay if I add this in my repertoire?
Just add a couple hours a week.
Absolutely. And she said this to me. She made a good statement to me. She said, "Listen, honey, I don't care what you do, but if you're going to do it, you got to give 110%. And I'm like, "I don't think you understand what that means, honey. Like, I got to go to shows. I've got to, have somebody here at our house every single week." She said, "I don't care as long as you give 110%.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it started. We were talking about it mid-fall last year. And after deer season started, I got the equipment and started podcasting a little bit here and there. And dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, like the first 7 episodes that I recorded, I deleted. And they were dog shit, man.
Really?
To be honest with you, man, they were like. I mean, I didn't know. Like, I listened to how Joe Rogan does. I listened to how Kurt does it. I listened to the Hunter podcast and learned like how they did. I tried to pick some of the this Southern outdoorsmen. they're probably the biggest Southern podcast that we have, for hunting. And I just wanted to like see how they did it. And I found myself, dude, just rambling a lot and dude, like audio quality. Yeah.
I still do that.
Yeah. I mean, and like just audio quality, not knowing really what I'm doing with editing. And I was just like, gosh, I started listening back to him. And Kurt even said this. He goes, man, after you record your first 10 episodes, then record your intro.
Yep.
And I'm like, I've recorded 5 intros.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, and then I actually had got my buddy Cody on with me for the podcast. And then he had some things that pop up between jobs and, getting married and stuff like that. And he's like, man, I got to, like we both came to the agreement, like, hey, let's take a step back, and I kind of took it off on my own. But man, just learning this stuff, there's a lot to it, man. I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect this to be, it's not hard. It's just a lot. Like as soon as I get off this podcast tonight, I've got to go edit one to launch for in the morning.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do when we're done is edit this.
Yeah. Like, and then, we like at working class, like Kurt even said this, he goes, I want 1 a week minimum. 1 a week minimum. And I'm like, okay. And then like in the beginning, like with those 7 episodes, dude, I had people coming to my house crazy. We were having a good time.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, holy crap. Okay. And I bet that you have dealt with this. How many people have you had on your podcast that are terrible at talking? And you're like, I can't even launch this, man.
You know what's crazy, man? I think if I really had to look back, it's maybe only like 4
really?
or 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a few where like I got pulled out of them.
Me being early into it, it was the same. I only had 4 or 5, but hell, I had only recorded 10 or 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And half of my episodes were,
like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm trying to get the people to talk, and that's hard to do because you can find the talkers, but as soon as they get on that microphone, they lock up.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge learning curve for me of like all the buddies that I want to have on the podcast or the people that I try to get on the podcast, like get them comfortable. And I hate to say this, and this may sound bad, but I'm like, man, have you a liquor drink before we get on this thing, or drink you a couple beers before.
Yep.
Let's take 30 minutes and drink a few beers to get to, and I know the people so far that I've had on this podcast, other than the episode that launches, it'll be, I'm guessing like July the 26th, whatever that Friday is, because that's what I launches on Friday mornings. Like that guy, I'm like, hey man, let's have a couple shots of liquor, just to get us there, and
just to loosen up.
Exactly. Like I'm an entertainment podcast, man. Like we drink beer on it, we cuss. We are not filtered. We're filtered to a degree, obviously, but we're an uncensored entertainment hunting camp podcast, and that's the angle that Kurt has always had with working class. And I know you're a huge working class follower and a fan, and you and Kurt are buddies, and he's the one that introduced us.
Dude, he's the reason I even do this, man. Like, I've told him that.
I wonder. I'd like to know how many podcasts are out there that they influenced.
Oh, tons, I'm sure.
It has to be, man. It has to be, and I think what I like about my podcast, obviously I'm biased. What I like about how you do it, I've listened to a bunch of yours here in the last, I don't know, couple weeks, to be honest with you. It's just as much entertainment as it is tactics. I think there's so many podcasts out there that are about tactics, that shit just gets old. It does.
Well, you can only talk about bedding areas and scents and funnels for 2 years in a row before it's like, oh, I said the same exact sentence 2 years ago.
If you want to learn from me, there's going to be some parts of podcasts that that tactics will be part of the conversation, but it's not going to be the headline of the conversation. And that I know a few people that I have on, or that I'm going to have on, that are going to be like kind of big tactics guys,
Mhm.
and I like it. Like I said, there's got to be part of that. That has to be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Like with me, you're getting a hunting camp vibe. You're getting that vibe of, man, just like if we were sitting there around by the fire and we had a cold beer in our hand and we're just sitting there talking, and that's what I want. That's what I like to listen to. Hunting stories. No matter what happened in the day. And I tell all my guests this, I'm like, when you tell a story, be elaborate.
Mhm.
Don't just say, oh, the deer, like I walked in, I found a scrape and I hung my tree stand and the deer walked in and I shot him. No.
Yep.
Tell me what you ate for supper the night before, then tell me that you ate breakfast and that you was running late because you had to take a shit. Like that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
And it's it, but it's been so fun because it's given me an avenue. Everybody that knows me knows I love to talk. It's given me an avenue to, I guess, express all that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's kind of weird because I feel like I'm talking to myself right now, honestly. Because like I used to say, like I remember in the beginning, people would be like, "Oh, okay, so how are we going to do this? How do you want to, how do you want to go about it?" And I would say the exact same thing. I would tell them, imagine that you and me are at hunting camp with a fire in front of us and two beers, each or whatever, and just talk. Talk about whatever you want to talk about. Tell me hunting stories. If you want to tell me how you killed your biggest deer, let's do that. I don't care. And I modeled that off the WCB stuff because it's like,
Yeah.
and I did the same thing, dude. Like when I first started, it was I'd listen to Working Class, Southern Outdoorsman, a few others like Hunter's Advantage. Those guys I'd listen to like, okay, so I need to do it like this. And I quickly found out like 2 episodes in, it's like, nope, just sit down and just talk about whatever's on your mind.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, I could literally bring something up about, how you rolled your ankle when you were 6 years old.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do like when I had the Hunter's Advantage guys on. Yeah, we talked deer hunting 75%, but the end of the episode was us talking about Shane Gillis. There's nothing to do with hunting, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
it's and honestly, man, I have to give credit to Kurt because Kurt, a lot of people may not know him like we know him, but that dude, and I know you were saying like you don't kiss ass. I'll be honest, I'll kiss ass when it's due, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to know how to. I mean, just like what you said again. All right, I'm done pumping you up. Yes, like I go there. I'm thankful. They know I'm thankful. And then like anybody that I've met in this hunting industry, like, hey, dude, love your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fan. But that's about the end of it because they get so much ass kissing, and I wanted to be different.
Yeah,
like I did.
Yeah,
I just wanted to be different.
Yeah, like what's funny is, dude, I had to catch myself when Waddell came on, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was fangirling. I truly was.
He's a pioneer, of
like
our age. I get it.
Yeah, the fact that I'm sitting right here and on the other side of the screen, there's freaking Michael Waddell. I'm like, what do I was like Ricky Bobby. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know what
talk
to
a
say.
big game. I talk a big game, but I ain't saying that I wouldn't do the same thing.
Oh, dude. Well, and what's funny is the whole episode, if you listen to it, he calls me Aaron the entire time. Mm-hmm. And I don't say a thing. And like 2 days later, he's like, hey, man, I just realized I was calling you Aaron the whole time. I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, it's cool, man. You call me whatever you want. I don't care, man. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, I say this because I'm in the pest control industry and I'm in sales of pest control industry. When I go in there and my name's Jordan. So a lot of people call me George, like Gordon, they call me all that stuff. And I look at them and say, hey, listen, you're close.
Yeah.
I've been called a lot worse, but it's Jordan, that usually tends to help. But like, I mean, listen, I say I don't kiss ass. Even if whether you're famous, not famous, or whatever, like I'm going to get to know you. Me being in sales, my number one thing is getting to know the person that's in front of me, right? So I know how I can help them, right? And so there's a little bit of that. There has to be like building people up and stuff like that. There's a difference between building people up and just kissing ass because the guys that are. I mean, if you want to say in the industry, there's guys in it. They get so much ass kissing. Like if you want to be known or if you want to be different, be different.
Yeah.
Just like I love the story Tanner with Whitetail Adrenaline. So me and Jared, I don't know if you've ordered the past couple years videos and stuff like
No,
that.
I haven't.
I've become pretty good buddies with Jared Scheffler and Tanner, one of the guys that are on it. He's one of the main guys now on it. He was sitting there saying, he goes, these people, they swing by the booths all the time at the shows, and they're like, oh my God, look at this deer, blah 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 blah. And he goes, man, I just went up to Jared's like, hey man, you seen any good looking women lately? It's just being different, and that's what I had to do, because I won't lie, I used to be that guy, that would stand in line to go meet Lee and Tiffany, or go meet the Waddells or anything like that. And I was like, man, I'll still do that even to this day, because I support them and I appreciate it, but also like try to be different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's how I got my in with working class, because dude, they don't care. They see the kissing ass, but they also like can appreciate it. Like they see like, dude, this guy really supports me. I'm gonna put just as much effort into them. And that's why I love between Kurt and Doug and Eric and Austin and Ross, and because the same energy that they get from the people, they give that back. And Kurt is the main guy. He has so much to do, and sometimes I can shoot him a text, even though I work for the guy. I can shoot him a text. He may not answer for 2 days, but guys super busy. But
I mean, there's been a few times I'll send some like weird stuff, like just joking around.
Yeah.
And I don't hear back from Kurt. So I'll text him again and be like, hey man, I crossed the line right there. And he's like, no, dude, I've just been busy. I'm like, all right, cool. Cause I'll show you one of the things I sent him like a year ago, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I can't say it on here, but it's if you would have got that out of the blue, just from some random kid down in Georgia, you'd probably be like, the hell's this guy's deal, man?
Yeah.
So it is weird though, because like, okay, so have you noticed with the people you've had on, and I know you've got some stuff like in the bank and probably backlogged and all that, but have you ever noticed like the nerves really getting to you?
To me, the nerves, okay, I'll say this because I've been on a couple podcasts before. I was on Victor Drive, I was on Last Row Outdoors, I was on another buddy of mine's. What got to me the worst was knowing what questions to ask in the beginning. So like for me, it was trying to figure out, okay, how do I keep this conversation rolling?
Yeah.
Right. And I found myself in the first few episodes like, okay, I got to ask this question here and ask this question here, ask this question here. But then I was like, you know what? Those are the worst ones. Now, don't get me wrong. Like whenever I have a guest on, I'll tell them like there's a few key points that I would like to cover. Like if they killed a giant, like, hey, we're going to get to that. Hey, you're a controversial guy. I want to go over that. But there's no like, I don't have like a log of questions. Now, whenever I get to the point to where I can have somebody like Michael Waddell on and some of these like the juries, or if I can get to that point, I may have some questions there.
Yeah, of course.
But in the event, like just us right here, dude, this is it just flows. You can tell the flow of the podcast, man. And it's the person that you have with you there. You can tell by the way you talk to them between texting them, calling them, things like that, And I was nervous at first. Because I was like, I hope it don't sound like shit, and I hope it's up to Kurt's standards. And I remember I told Kurt, I was like, hey man, listen, I will record 5 episodes. I will send you all 5 episodes. If they're dog shit, please tell me, and we'll either fix it or we'll just not even launch this thing. He goes, no, dude, you got it. No, dude, you're fine. I'll sample them. And I'm going, no, dude, like I need the constructive criticism. Like, he's like, no, dude, I'll sample a few of them. And if there needs to be anything changed, I'll let you know, but you'll be fine. And I'm going, God dang, throw me to the wolves.
Yep.
But dude, if he would have really listened to those first 5 podcasts and did all that, I may not have a show.
Yeah.
That's how bad they were. And
I mean, you're better than me, dude. I still have day one, like in my truck. on my headset. You can barely hear me. And I'm like,
Mhm.
hey guys, my name's Eric Chakowski. This is Southeastern Bowhunter Podcast. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. And I listened to it like not that long ago. And I'm like, oh, dear God.
What
Like,
helped
this
me
is
was Kurt was like,
terrible.
dude, you're going to suck. He's like,
Yeah,
you're going
that's
to
the
suck.
thing.
Yeah. And that helped me like realize like, okay, I know Kurt has a standard. He does,
Mhm.
but he also is he's such a gracious person. He really is, man. And I was like wanting to exceed expectations or whatever. Like obviously you don't want to fail at anything you do, but then again, if you never fail, you
You
never
never
grow.
learn.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you never learn, you never grow. And what I did was I sent some of those other podcasts to a couple buddies of mine and stuff like that. And I said, listen to this. And I sent it to people that would be honest with me.
Yeah.
And I sent it to 4 or 5 people, and they would say, "Oh, your audio quality's hot." Like, okay, Lee with Working Class, me and him are really good buddies, and I talk to Lee every day. And I sent him. I was like, "Hey, man, listen to this episode." He said, "Yeah, your mic is hot here. You did this, 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 this." I'm like, "Dude, thank you. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I need." And so it helped me turn down um, the mic a little bit.
Yeah.
It took me away from taking this thing and getting right here on it and being away from it, and when people laugh, I tell them like, hey, if you're going to laugh, pull your face away from the mic,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
do where it kills your ears, but I mean, there's only so much that you can control of that,
Yeah.
but the nerves, but I guess because I love to talk to people and I'm constantly talking to people on a daily basis is how I make my money.
Yeah.
That they're not really there because I don't care. I love adversity. I love a challenge in front of me, and I'm not scared to fail. And I think that's the biggest thing. What has helped me in this? I'm in the bottom 5% of podcasts, and like, and
I'm
how
right there
well I
with
can
you.
do this thing. So
I'm
like,
right
and
there
how
with
well I
you,
can do
bro.
this thing, but I'm not scared to say that. I'm not scared to fail and
Yeah.
to learn. And because I want to grow. So I would rather fail and grow than be one of the best and then fall off.
Well, the thing is too, like you are partnered up with, in my opinion, literally the biggest hunting podcast that there is, right?
Yeah.
And so I know there's got to be pressure with that, but at the same time, knowing who Kurt is, if you express any of that to him, he's gonna tell you, like, dude, you're fine, like what you were saying. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, but it's not even just Kurt, man. I mean, I got Doug and Eric, and they're like, "Hey, man, do this, this." Like, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, who's been a huge help with me is Jacob Johnson with Victory Drive Podcast.
Yeah.
And like showing me, like, I have an editing software that I use because of Jacob. Like Jacob uses it on his. He's like, "Hey, man, try this," and I used it, and dude, that's what I run all my podcasts through, and like I love the perspective from Kurt and Doug and Eric and Austin and Ross and because they're the main ones. But I'm like, listen, I'm not on their level. I want to be where I want some feedback from the people that are on the network that aren't working class. Victory
Yeah.
Drive and Jordan with Tackle and Tacos, and it has that helped me just as much as what Kurt and them did because they were like, okay, here's what Kurt expects from us, and Kurt, there's really no expectations other than if you promise an episode a week,
You deliver it.
you deliver it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like I get it. Like Kurt has built a huge name, huge following, and it's he holds true to them. Like I will say this, like at the shoot this year, you can tell that he supports his following as much as they support him.
Yeah.
Like, dude gave away binoculars, gave away stands, saddles, gave away 40 acres of seed from Big Time. 40 acres.
That's
acres.
God, how many bags was that? Like 300 bags.
yeah. You should have saw it, dude. It was in 300 more than that. No, it's probably 500 bags if I had to guess. And I mean that's what Kurt does. I mean, there's thousands of dollars of giveaways.
Oh yeah.
At these shoots, and Kurt's like, we have to do this for our guys.
Yeah.
And then he puts on an after party at Jig's Tavern. Like, so what I like about him, dude, he gives back. Because how many people in the hunting industry give back?
Not honestly any really
I
that I can
don't
think
know
of right
anybody
away.
other than like you might have a giveaway for a pack of broadheads. You might have a
Yeah.
giveaway for and that's what I like about it, because he really is just one of us. Like, you sit down, he is one of us. He's actually one of the biggest names in the media industry,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the hunting side, and he's one of us.
He's a normal dude.
He's never let it get to his head, and so.
See, and
But,
that's pretty
I mean,
rare, man. Because like
Kurt,
the
if you listen
people,
to this, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to kiss your ass.
oh, I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna be like, hey, go to this point in the podcast. Jordan's kissing your ass a little bit. Make sure that you clip it, put it on the page. I'll even send you the clip.
He'll send me a picture doing this right here. Just getting
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the thing about them though, is like, because I was playing with the idea to do a podcast for like 2 years, man. Because me and my wife back in 2020 got into it really bad one time over hunting. And I mean, I was obsessed to the point where I did not care. Like, if there was a birthday party for my niece, I'd be hunting. If there was something important going on, I'd be hunting. Right.
Mm.
And so I finally, it finally blew up and I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. And then I was already listening to working class. I was like, well, the podcast thing seems fun. Like I can carve out an hour a week and then maybe another hour to edit. And Kurt, that's I think why I put so much emphasis on Kurt is because he's the one that I've talked to the most. Like I've reached out to Eric a couple times, maybe talked to Doug once or twice on Facebook, but it's the same thing. Like any questions I've had, Kurt's the guy I go to, and I'm like, hey, dude, this is what's going on. What should I do? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, he won't hesitate to tell you like, okay, do this, or I mean, he'll even humble you, man. Yeah, he humbled the crap out of me after Waddell came on because I called him. I'm like, dude, Waddy's on. And I was joking, but I was like, man, I made it. He goes, no, you didn't. I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go cry. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, Waddy's just a good guy. And he's willing to help people.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Man. Well, I got to be honest, man. I really like what you're doing with the podcast. It's got that Southern flair to it, which is what they needed. But so we talked about the podcast. I'm very excited to see who you've got coming, in the next few weeks. You told me about someone that's coming soon, and he sounds like a mutual friend of ours that we both know that it's going to be really funny. Yeah. But what about the hunting side of things? So you're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So what's that? I don't know if you've hunted like anywhere south of North Carolina, like Georgia, Tennessee, or anything like that, but what is the hunting like up there? Like, are you in the mountains? Are you?
Yeah, I'm in the mountains. Man, the hunting's here is tough. Listen, people say that Southern hunting is the hardest hunting you can do. Well, we don't live in freaking Colorado. We don't live in those big mountains. And that's where people say, oh, yeah, I mean, if you can kill a white-tailed deer here, you can kill one anywhere. Maybe. I've hunted a lot of Midwest. I've hunted here. I live in.
You got a lot of big bucks behind you, bro. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like the hunting Western North Carolina or hunting North Carolina in general. Yes, it's tough. It still is Southern hunting. We don't have gigantic deer here. There are few and far between booners in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But as far as hunting here, man, if I want to go just shoot a deer, I can go shoot a deer. You know, and I'm chasing 120-inch 8-pointers, and I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to say. Like, I grew up hunting, very natural. My dad was against baiting. He was like, "Nope, we're doing this. I'm going to teach you how to actually deer hunt." And if I wanted to go just shoot a spike or 4-pointer or 6-pointer, 85-inch 8-pointer, that would be no problem.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I used to ask my dad, like, "Hey, how are you shooting these 100-inch 8-pointers? Those are giants." And then now I graduated to the point where I'm letting them go. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, the deer hunting here is not hard. It's not hard. The deer hunting, the trophy hunting here is what's hard. And I think that's where people get it mixed up in the South. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna talk a little shit about it. Like,
I'll probably agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, people don't forget. Think like, oh, well, we have the hardest deer hunting. Actually, no, we have some of the most populated states in the country. For deer. Now, I asked them this. I'm like, are you talking about trophy hunting, or are you talking about deer hunting?
Yeah, killing a deer.
Exactly. Well, if you're talking about trophy hunting, well, yeah, we don't have the genetics and we don't have the food. We don't have that like what the Midwest does. But that's like comparing. That's like saying, uh, that fish can't climb that tree, so you're judging the fish for not being able to climb the tree. When you don't have hands or feet.
Yeah.
We don't we there are, like I said, there are giants few and far between in the South or in North Carolina. There was a 201-inch deer killed opening day in North Carolina. There was multiple booners killed, but you're talking of a state that has multi-million people, and I'll say probably 10%, 10 to 15% of us deer hunt. So you have hundreds of thousands of deer hunters in North Carolina itself, and then you have one guy that has his best moment.
Yeah,
he kills a giant. And I mean, the thing is North Carolina hunting is as hard as you want to make it. If you want to go hunt the public land in North Carolina, that's where you can say, all right, this shit's hard.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hunt public land. I want to hunt private land. I don't want to compete against other people.
Yeah.
I want to hold private. And listen, I get excited whenever I shoot a 120-inch deer as much as I do 150 in the Midwest, because it's the same caliber. I mean, it's age class. If you can saw the horns off, I'm killing 5.5-year-old deer here.
Yeah.
It's like killing
120 here is like a booner up there for us.
Yeah. But I still look at it like this. A deer is a deer. No matter where you are in the country, a deer is a deer.
Yeah.
The terrain here is a little tougher than in the Midwest. That's the only thing that we have that's tougher than the Midwest. I can tell you that.
Yeah, because it's flat.
Yeah. I mean, people say, oh, you got these little strips of wood so you can narrow them down in the Midwest. Yeah, but you have a 1,000-acre cornfield that these deer never leave.
Mm-hmm. So how do you get in? How do you get them to come to you? Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, dude, I'm from Illinois. I was there for 6-7 years before I moved here to Georgia. So I just had this argument with some buddies of mine last night, because me and my buddy Thor are planning a trip to Illinois next year to go on some public. And the place
will be humbled.
Do what?
You'll be humbled.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure I will. I've got buddies that do it every year, and they don't come back with 200-inch deer. No, they see them, but they don't kill them.
Yeah.
And but what's cool about it is, like, we're going back to an area that I used to go to as a kid when we'd go camping. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking about all that, and they're like, oh, because I was saying, oh, I'll shoot a 110 all day. And they're like, man, you'll shit when you get to Illinois. I'm like, you got to remember, dude, I was 6 years old sitting in the truck with my dad watching a field that was like probably 800 acres, just seeing booners walking around, because it was a game preserve. No one hunts it. Yeah. So there's literally no pressure whatsoever. These deer don't care. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is going up to Illinois. And I was asking Kurt and a couple other guys that live up there, like, what public land, I should go to. And Kurt was basically like, you don't. He's like, just don't do it. There's too many people. But I don't know. I mean, we don't have the money to get a lease up there. I don't know anyone that has property. So yeah, it'll be fun. But I mean, you've hunted Illinois, haven't you?
No, never hunted Illinois.
Oh, really?
I've hunted Ohio. Let's see. I'll list off the states. So I went to Iowa last year, and I killed the deer the first morning in Iowa. But I've mainly hunted Ohio, Tennessee, North Carolina. That's been my top 3 states that I always hunt. But I've hunted. I mean, I've killed deer in Virginia. I've killed them in Ohio. I've killed them in Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Iowa, stuff. Kansas. I hunt Kansas a lot too.
Dude, I feel like everybody goes to Kansas. Is Kansas really that good?
I don't want to say.
Okay. That answers my question.
Listen, Kansas, this is a rabbit hole, and I'm not going to get into the rabbit hole. Public land is not what it used to be. How do I say this? Public land hunting now is very tough because it's hard to find secluded places. Right? And that the thing is you can go to any Midwest state, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Kansas, Oklahoma, Ohio, Kentucky, and you will find big deer on public land. The problem is you'll find that same amount of people because there's so much mobile access to it now. And people are finding these little secluded access or knocking on the doors to ask the private lands like, hey, I don't even want to hunt yours. I just want to go to this. And so Kansas is great. It was one of the first great Midwest states that people found out about. And then they went to Illinois, or it was like Illinois, then Kansas, then Iowa, and then Ohio. Ohio's so cheap. Yeah. And that's the only reason why people go to Ohio, because it's one of the cheapest Midwest states you can hunt. And it's
and look at the CJ Alexander buck. I mean, that thing was walking around, which that's another rabbit hole that I am not about to go down.
I don't even want to talk about that deer. I mean, anybody that poaches a deer, I don't care if you kill a 300. If the Luke Brewster buck was poached, I wouldn't even want to talk about it. It's not even but I mean, he killed that deer correct. And then the Dustin Huff buck, like that, you just took that deer and made that deer seem that small,
I will say this. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole, but I got to say it. I talked to him when all this was going on at first.
CJ?
Yeah, I wanted to get because I wasn't sure. I was on the fence. I'm like, all right, the story doesn't really add up much, but then I kind of could see it. So I just reached out. I was like, hey, dude, I'm seeing all this stuff. Like, what's going on? Like, I support you. I want to support you. And this is before the charges. This is like December, right? And we talked for a little bit, and he seemed like a down-to-earth dude. But I've got one big rule where it's like, if you bring God into it, and then on the flip side of it, you did some really illegal stuff like poaching a deer, you're out. Like, I don't care what you tell me at that point, you lost me. Yeah. So after that, I was like, dude, it just pisses me off. Yeah. It's like, you can lie all you want, but don't be like, oh, God bless me with this, and I was there at the right time, and he this, he that. And it's like, dude, you shot the deer illegally.
Yeah.
You did that. It wasn't him. It was you. Yeah. And it just pissed me off. But anyway.
I agree. I mean, I'm a follower. I'm a Christian man, and I agree. Like, you just put a bad name on it.
Yep. You don't do that. That's a line you don't cross. But anyway, I can already feel myself going down that rabbit hole. So I'm not going to
stop it right there, because I don't really care about talking about it either.
Yep. Well, so all right. So obviously I'm in Georgia, an hour from Atlanta. And I'm not going to say I know the Seek One guys. I've talked to him a few times, kind of buddies with Jay. Do you guys have anything like that out by you? Is there any urban hunting that's a thing, or is it sort of?
There is. The best place to urban hunt, you can't. Like around Charlotte in Mecklenburg County, they don't really allow any city hunting.
Is it illegal?
Do what?
Is it illegal?
In a way, yeah. It's very. I'm not going to go down that path, because I don't know 100% regulations on it, because I don't care about it.
Yeah.
There are people that hunt in the city limits of Mecklenburg County, which is Charlotte and stuff, but you can't even fire a high-powered rifle in Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is, and Charlotte's the most populated city in North Carolina, and I don't think you can hunt at all in Charlotte in the city limits at all, whether it's with a bow or anything. And there are some absolute megas. That would be where your megas would be. And I could be wrong, Eric. I just because I don't care enough about it.
Yeah,
it's to get into it, but I don't think there's any hunting allowed at all in Charlotte in the city limits. Raleigh, I think you can. There's a lot of city limit hunting, yes, but there's only 2 or 3 cities that would be on the map, like Atlanta would be, and killing deer like that. You wouldn't kill deer like what they do in Atlanta, or what they do in Nashville, or what they do in Columbus, or Cleveland, wherever they go. And but there'd still be some giant deer, that would get killed. You'd see booners killed every year.
See, I'm so curious about that, because you see Lee and them kind of branch out and go to different places, and Lee killed Kimbo up in, I think it was Ohio last year, and it's like, I just wonder, because down here, man, I mean, the laws are they're amazing. Honestly, there's almost no laws, and I say that meaning they're very relaxed.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my spots is a 1 acre property.
Yeah.
And there's houses all around, but I've got that big 6 point.
See that deer right there.
Yeah.
I was killed on a 2-acre property.
See, all right. So that's
I drew back on and I missed would have been my largest North Carolina buck. He was pushing 150, big giant 10-pointer out of the same tree. He ducked my arrow. It was so quiet, about 38 yards or whatever. And I shot and he just ducked my arrow. It was a giant, 2 acres. Is
he still alive?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna kill him this year?
I lost that 2 acres to hunt, but I picked up another 120 right next to it. So
okay. Well,
that he goes to later in the season.
Okay. Well, if I don't get a photo when he's on the ground, I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna call you and be like, Jordan,
yeah,
talked about this, man.
Like, okay, that's something that's good to talk about. Like, I fuck with all my buddies, right?
Oh boy.
Like I'll send them a picture of the ass of a deer, the hoof print, I'll send them like one time, and I won't send them like I have like a select few, like 2 people. Like the first person I call when I shoot a deer is my wife. And because I want to show my kids, or like tell my kids I just shot a deer, and I call my dad, and then I call my buddy Petey. That's the only 3 people that really get the initial phone call, and my buddy Trent too as well. But they're really the only people that get that initial and get the initial picture. Everybody else I fuck with. You won't know what I killed, what deer I killed, what deer, like you might not know for 3 or 4 days just because I just screw with my buddies. They're like, damn it, send me pictures. Like I just like a photo of it, and just to screw with them. And it's always fun.
That's hilarious. I never thought of doing that. I might do that this year.
Yeah, because what does it matter if you get the hell yeah today or the hell yeah 4 days from now?
Yeah. Dude, I'll tell you what, I've got a bad problem with getting like hyped up over nothing, right? And I shouldn't say nothing, but like my last sit last year, I was in the stand 20 minutes and shot a doe that's no bigger than my pit bull. Now, granted, she looked bigger, but when I walked up and could pick her up by both sets of legs and walk her out, I was like, this.
You must have shot her right at dark.
No, dude, it was at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Nice. But she came up so quick. And all I said when I walked in was, I want to kill a deer. I don't care what it is. Yeah. It's my last sit of the season. I still have 11 tags left. So something's dying. If it shows up and there's no spots, it's dying.
Y'all get a lot of tags in, don't you?
We get 12 tags, and then we can get, if we get drawn for the quota hunt, you get 2 more. And then I'm working with a buddy of mine who hunts like 20 minutes east of me, doing kind of like a management thing where they give you 3 or 4 extra tags. So, dude, yeah, they're trying to get rid of them down here. It's ridiculous. But
we did a thing. You could get unlimited amount of doe tags. You go pay $5 for 2 tags, and I know a guy killed 36 does in 1 year. Like, yeah, he paid that. He paid the $5 for every 2. They only did it for about 3 years, I think 3 or 4 years, but you could kill an unlimited amount of does.
God, so y'all have that many deer out there?
Yeah, we got a lot of deer. We don't have, like I said, we don't have just like giants running around. Yeah. We have. There was a survey in one of the most heavily populated counties. It was a 1 to 10 ratio, buck to doe ratios. So it was like for every 1 buck, it was 10 does. And because nobody shot does, because everybody was a believer growing up, like, oh, if you shoot does, you won't have bucks during the rut.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But what they didn't realize that if you get rid of a bunch of your does, the bucks will travel more during the rut to look for them, and the lockdown phase is a lot shorter, but that was like my dad, that's how I grew up, dude. I didn't shoot hardly any does growing up. Well, when I was a kid, I did, but whenever I got my license, I stopped shooting does because I was like, no, I don't want to drag these damn things out, because I grew up eating deer meat so much that whenever I moved out of my house, I stopped eating deer meat because I was freaking tired of it. Like we would never buy steaks or burgers or anything like that. All we did was eat wild game. So for like 4 or 5 years, I didn't eat any deer meat. I'd give away the tenderloins, everything. Then now I'm like, I have to pay all these damn bills. I'm eating every inch of that deer that I can.
Oh yeah,
everything but the nose.
It's the healthiest stuff there is, man. Like, my wife gets on to me when we have a steak and I eat all the fat. She's like, "You're gonna die like that." I'm like, dude, I'm not eating this every day, and we've got 100 pounds of deer meat downstairs. Let me enjoy this.
Fat is the best part of the ribeye.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It is. It's where all the flavor's at. But yeah, man, I just, because I've been in North Carolina. I was up there a couple of years ago for a family friend's wedding, and we saw a bunch of deer where their wedding was at. Huh?
What part of North Carolina?
I think Raleigh.
Okay, yeah, you're 3 hours. That's 3 hours east of me.
Okay. So you're what, west?
Yeah, so like there's two the okay, so Appalachian State University is 35, 40 minutes north of me. Like I'm in the county where Madison Bumgarner and Eric Church lived. So yeah, like Eric Church grew up just right down the road from where I'm at. Like his grandparents live about 5 minutes from me.
Huh.
So Madison Bumgarner, the pitcher for started with the San Francisco Giants and then went to the Diamondbacks. He's about 8 minutes from me. Right.
Wow.
That's really like whenever people say like, "Oh, what is your town known for?" It's those two guys. And Luke Combs was about 30 minutes from me. Well,
That's
sorry, he grew up
crazy.
in like Hendersonville, Asheville area, so he's about
Yeah.
an hour from me. And then he went to ASU. Yeah, yeah.
That's wild, dude.
I live in the foothills of some big mountains, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I live in farm country of Granite Falls, North Carolina, farm country. So it's kind of flat where I live, but you go 30 minutes north, you're in some Appalachian Trail territory. Yeah.
Where all the skinwalkers and wendigos and stuff are. Yeah, I'll stay away from that.
I used to believe in that shit, dude.
Dude.
All right, we'll go down this. All right, dude, I was so growing up until I was about, I even hate to say this, dude. I mean, you take away my man card till I was about 27, 28 years old. Dude, I was scared to hell of the dark. But we have so many bears.
Yeah.
Right.
You have a
Like,
reason up there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so many bears. But it wasn't just what I'll tell you what scared me when I was like 16 years old. I watched the Friday the 13th movies, Jason Voorhees movies. And like
Yeah.
you're walking in 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and you hear a stick break or a deer takes off running or a coon runs up a tree or whatever. I'm telling you right now, if I'd have had a pistol, I don't know how many rounds I would have fired off down through the woods, you know, and I was scared to death of the dark until I realized, like, you know, stop being a pussy. You know, just there's nothing's going to happen to you, you know, but but I've walked up on, I know for a fact 6 bears before daylight, you know, walk 20 yards of them. Hell, I got a story for you. It wasn't before daylight. So this was open a weekend of deer season. And I lied to you. It was the Tuesday after open weekend of deer season. My buddy had hunted one of the stands I hung for him. We baited him a spot or whatever. And I baited off down the hill, probably 400, 500 yards from him. I saw a mama and a couple cubs. They come right in. They were feeding right in front of me. Wasn't bear season. You couldn't shoot them off the bait. I was like, all right, just watch them for a little while. Well, that following Tuesday, I went up there hunting again. And my buddy was like, hey, can you go get my tree stand for me? Sure, absolutely. Well, I was only hunting with a recurve. So I'm walking, like I parked the truck and I walk up this big mountain, whatever. And I get to the top of the mountain and I only had to go maybe 75 yards. There's this tree stand right off the top of this mountain. And I hear something coming to my right. And it's out of these, it's like a grown up, like cutovers, kind of like a cutover deal. And I'm like right on the edge of the fence line. Well, I hear something coming. I'm like, well, shit, I got my recurve. I don't care if it's a 4-pointer. I'm shooting the shit out of this thing.
Yeah.
This was probably 10 years ago. And I'm hearing it coming. And I squat down behind this big red oak. And here comes a cub.
Oh,
Mind you,
no.
this is 10 yards from me. It pops out. It's 10 yards from me. And I'm like, oh my God. All I have is my recurve. And I'm going, I don't know what to do. Like, mama's here somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So I start like shaking beyond control. Like if when you have the flu and you're so cold and you're shaking, like I'm shaking so bad because I'm so scared. Well, the cub like comes to just the other side of the tree to me, probably 6 or 7 feet from me. And I'm like, where's mama? Where's mama? Where's mama? Well, I hear like stick breaks and some fucking leaves rustling behind me, probably 10 yards, maybe 15 yards. And I just turn around and look, and she stands up because she hears her cub coming. And so what I had done is I had just walked up this little trail as a roadbed leading up the top of this mountain, and it was super quiet. Early season, you know, it rained that day, that morning. Yeah. And so it's so quiet. And I get right up to the top of that. And the cub had to be a minute behind her mama, So this mama stands up. Well, I lean against the tree to try to like hide.
Yeah.
They don't have great eyesight, but they're curious animals. Well, she kind of like comes walking around and she catches my scent. When she catches my scent, the cub comes around the tree in front of me, 3 feet from me, sees me, goes crazy. Well, the mama like stands up and like, you ever seen that movie, The Great Outdoors?
Uh-huh.
Like where the grizzly bear like turns its head sideways and kind of roars.
Yep.
He didn't, or the mother didn't do that. Like she didn't roar, but she started like popping her teeth.
Oh no.
Yeah. And so, and they say like whenever it, like she started like laughing at me, like that's
Yep.
what they say is whenever that they want to fight, there's a ho, 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 or whatever they do.
Oh, well, it's like
And,
chuffing at you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she like starts hitting the ground like she's going to charge. And I'm like, well, I'm dead now. So I'm going to throw out all the stops, So I start screaming bloody murder. Like I have a deep voice, but I'm a pretty loud guy. And I'm screaming as loud as I can. And this bear is not budging. So I have my arrow knocked, I'm like, I don't want to shoot this bear because I know as soon as I put an arrow in it, here it comes. It's coming out.
Yeah.
And like I get to full draw on the recurve and I'm like holding it and I put it on it. Well, she goes down and kind of gets behind the tree and she kind of starts walking off down the hill. Well, I take a big ass rock. I let my bow down. I take a big ass rock and like throw it down the hill at her. And she kind of runs just off the hill and she turns around and here she comes back. I'm like, oh my God, I'm dead.
Oh no.
So I pull my knife out of my pocket. I'm like, this recurve, I'm going to shoot her with the recurve. I'm going to grab my knife and then have to stab her, and I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. And, she was probably a 200-pound, 225, and I was $160. I wasn't.
That's still a big bear.
Yeah, it's a good size mama, and it was early September. But dude, I'm telling you that bear scarred me. I was 20. I think I was 23 at this moment. So yeah, it was about 10 years ago. And for 5 years, dude, like I didn't want to walk in the woods. Well, after she walked down the hill, I take off running. I go jump in my buddy's stand like I'm safe, like a bear can't climb a damn tree.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. I felt
safe, But that's the reason why I was scared of the woods, man, for so long. I was scared shitless, man.
So I got one on you for that one, but not in the way you're probably thinking.
Yeah.
So when I first started hunting, because I've only been hunting since 2019.
Yeah.
Like I'm still kind of new to it.
Yeah.
Before that, and the people that know me know exactly where I'm going with this. I, for some reason, must have, smoked too much pot when I was younger or did something dumb. I thought Bigfoot was real.
Okay.
Hold on. So I thought it was real so much that I'd watch the documentaries. I've learned all this stuff. We've got a Bigfoot museum in Blue Ridge up here that I'd been to a couple times. And, I had been in the woods a little bit, right? But I grew up not in the country.
Yeah.
And married my wife, moved out here and completely changed. Well, I think it was the first 2 years I would go into the woods scared shitless.
Yeah.
Because like an idiot, for some reason, I still would watch this stuff and I'd watch the scary movies on it and, where everyone gets torn apart. And in my mind, I'm like, the bad part is this is on 3 acres of my in-laws place, right? So I'm not thinking clearly, but I'm also still kind of,
you're green
world.
Do what? Yeah, you're green to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm telling you, like, my thought every single time those first 2 years, I'd be walking in the dark and I'd be like, because I'd have the headlamp, I'm like, if I just turn to the left or the right, or I'm walking through and I see this 800-pound monkey look behind the tree, I'm done. I was like, I am out of here. I'm dropping everything. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, I started, actually spending more time in the woods. Yeah, I grew up, right? And I was like, I started thinking about it, I was like, man, there ain't no way. But what's crazy is I've talked to DNR out here. And they've told me that they've got people who work for them that are like, oh, we've seen some things. And I'm like, y'all don't tell me that. I was like, I've gotten over this. Don't tell me that there's some weird stuff out there. And they kind of just raise their eyebrow. And I'm like, all right, look, we're not.
Man, as many trail cameras that are in the woods these days. Exactly. Okay, so like the big thing up here, I don't know what y'all see is like people say like, oh, I get mountain lions. Oh, I don't like, oh, I saw a mountain lion. I heard a mountain lion. I'm not denying that they're not here. I'm not saying they're not here.
Yeah.
But I run about 30 cell cameras.
Good Lord.
And in the deepest part of the country.
Yeah.
In like, I'm not in like down toward Murphy, North Carolina. Like when you get close to Cherokee, Tennessee, like all those areas, those are some vast, vast areas.
Oh, yeah.
But like that's where elk are, things like that. But a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I saw a mountain lion for sure right here. And I'm like, well, I have 12 cameras in there in some of the heaviest, deer trails, game trails, however you call them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not here, but I have never got a picture of them.
Yeah, you'd think.
And I'm in the pest control industry, so they'll say, "Oh yeah, there was a mountain lion right here in my backyard. Look at this picture," and I'm like, "That's a bobcat, honey."
Yep.
And they're like, "No, that's a mountain lion." I'm going,
"No,
ma'am, that's a bobcat." Like,
yeah,
like, oh, I heard him screaming. I'm like, did it sound like a little girl screaming in the woods? Yeah, well, then it was probably just a bobcat.
I mean, I'd ask him straight up, how long was its tail? Was it 3.5 to 4 foot?
I mean, I've called people straight up like, you don't know what you're talking about, honey. You're from Florida. Like you don't live up here.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. And I get it. I understand. Like, just like you. I mean, you're a grown ass man, didn't realize that Bigfoot wasn't real.
Yeah.
Up until just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I bought into the hype. But I will tell you, I am one of those people that will claim to have seen a mountain lion out here. And I have seen them enough.
Mm-hmm.
About 5 minutes from my house, we went around this curve, like normal highway, not like, an interstate, but just like one of those country road highways.
Mm-hmm.
And we're cruising, going to the in-laws' place. And I swear up and down, this cat with a tail that was, stupid long, mm-hmm. goes running across the street. And I thought it was a dog at first because I'm like, damn, that dog was moving fast. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, no, dogs don't have that long of tails and they're not that big or that shape.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've had mountain lions in Georgia, but I'm nowhere near the mountains. I'm an hour east of Atlanta. Yeah. So the only thing I can think of is it was traveling and, that was it.
Like I said, I'm not saying that they're not here.
Yeah.
But there's so many trail cameras out there in the world that if there was one in North Carolina, it would have already surfaced, like where you could say, like, not just a picture of an ass or a blurry picture. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's so many good quality trail cameras, and you're telling me that you're not having anything on camera. You know what I mean?
You ever get stuff, people sending you photos or telling you they've seen a black panther?
Mm-mm. Not around here.
We get that so much around here, and it's just a house cat.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Like I have talked to people that said, oh, yeah, look at what I got. What is this? They don't know what it is. And I'm like, that's a darn Maine Coon or it's a house cat. It is what it is.
Dude, they'll post on Facebook in some of these groups that I'm in, and they're like, oh, look, a baby black panther. I'm like, that's Midnight, your neighbor's cat. Like, what are you talking about, dude? That's not a black
fluffy
panther.
there.
Yeah, it's fluffy just going out for a night stroll.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, Georgia's an interesting place, and I've seen North Carolina. I haven't hunted it, obviously, but I feel like what North Georgia hunting would be probably relatable to like what you've got, because it's the same mountains.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm curious though is, do you guys have elk in your area? Have they made
not where I live? You can go down to like the most western peak of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And there are a few. They're not huntable. There are a few. I know Cherokee's got a ton of them.
Oh yeah,
I won't say a ton, but Cherokee's got quite a bit, which is right next to North Carolina and on the Indian reservation there. And but yeah, there's. I'm sure there's more than what I think there are, or there may be less. There's a herd here or there in North Carolina, but it'd have to be. It's like in maybe a county or two out of the 100 counties that are in North Carolina.
See, I'm just waiting for those numbers to go up, man, so we don't have to go 800 miles west, because they're the same breed, aren't they? Aren't they the same subspecies?
Yeah. I mean, so there's an elk farm 20 minutes from my house. They grow elk like in a high fence. So yes, there is elk. I lied to you. Yes, there's elk here, but it's on a farm. It's like different than a buffalo farm or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna say in 30 years, my kids will be able to grow up, I think, whenever they're in their 40s and 50s, they'll be able to hunt elk in North Carolina. I know there's elk in Virginia. I know there's elk in West Virginia. There's elk in Tennessee. So it's just a matter of time to where I think 20 to 30 years we'll be able to hunt them here. Now, I think it's going to be kind of like how Kentucky is, where they only give out 5 or 10 tags a year, but yeah, like I put in for the Kentucky lottery every year and still haven't got it. But
I want to do that so bad. So bad. I got a buddy that lives in Michigan that they've got elk up there, and he's like, "Yeah, man, it's a one-time thing." I'm like, "Dude, how do I sign up? Because it's closer." You know what I'm saying? Like, because I was supposed to go to Colorado next year and go hunt with my uncle that lives out there, but one of my buddies that does I guess he travels for hunting a lot. We were talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, there's no," because I was gonna hunt muleys. Like I like elk, they're cool, but muleys are just there's something about a mule deer that I would take that over an elk hunt any day.
Well, see, like I'll hate to say this, like I don't. So my dad, he's killed over 30 elk with a bow.
Holy
in Colorado,
good
and
Lord.
I think he's killed 20 or so mule deer with a bow and one with a gun. And like growing up around it and him bringing horns home, I was like, yeah, I can't wait to go. But man, like I can't sacrifice my whitetail time. And
Yeah, that's the tough part.
I got buddies that go elk hunting every single year. My dad goes every other year, and he's killed like I think 3 over 300 with a bow, and it's just like I don't know why. Like I just can't. It's not in my blood like I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because it's so expensive to go elk hunt now. Like I don't care what state you go to, and then I'm thinking like, well, I've got a lease in Ohio. I've got a lot of land I can hunt in Kansas. I got land I can hunt in Illinois. I've got land I can hunt in Iowa. I've got land in Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and I'm like, I don't want to waste my time chasing this. Now I went to Wyoming turkey hunting a couple months ago, or in May, and there I saw a ton of elk while I was out there, and I'm like, okay, this is easier hunting. Like I hate to say this, like I've become a lazier hunter as I've gotten older, and I'm like, I want it to be easy. And I know like what my dad does and how he's packed in and killed these big elk and having to pack them out. I'm like, damn, dude, that don't sound fun to me. I'm an Airbnb deer hunter or Airbnb elk hunter. Like I want to stay in an Airbnb. I want you to tell me where the elk are, and then I'll go kill it. Like you don't have to like draw my bow for me or pull the trigger, but like, hey, there's elk in that holler, and then I'll figure it out from that point.
Yeah. So you're not going to do it like Cam Haines and go 100 miles in.
No, because I don't
carry it out on your shoulders.
And I'll tell you this, I'll say it like this. If I'm going to spend time away from my wife and my 2 kids, I want it to be easy. So if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars to be gone, my wife says this. So when I went to Iowa last year, like I put in for 6 years, and then I paid a guy $1,000 to let me hunt his farm for a couple of weeks. Now I killed one the first morning, but my wife's like, if you are spending this kind of time away from your 2 boys and me, I want you to be successful.
Yep.
Well, I'm not even close to a good elk hunter. I've never been.
Mm-hmm.
Been whitetail hunting enough that I'm like, okay, I can afford to take this time away because I feel like that I will kill something.
Yeah,
I'm coming home with something. I'm coming home with something, no matter where I go.
That was the argument we had, dude. Like, because I told her I was planning on going out there, and she's like, "Well, what's the odds?" Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. With a bow, pretty low, especially on a muley. Because those things they go miles and miles and miles. Like,
yeah. I'll send you a picture here in a little bit of my dad's wall. He's got 5 muleys that are between 170 and 200. And no, let's see. Sorry, I lied to you. 7 muleys between 170 and 200.
That's wild.
And,
see, I think of Devin Leonard when I start talking muleys.
Yeah.
That dude, man. I don't.
He's a freak, man.
Yeah. I honestly am at a loss for words for some of the muleys he's killed, and he's always so fun to hear on the podcast or really any podcast because all he says is dude the whole time and then 240-inch muley. And it's like, all right, that's my kind of guy. Like,
Dad shot one. Dad shot one. And, you can say score all you want or whatever, but he shot a mule deer that he thought would have been like a world record typical. He's killed a 197 mule deer. He said it was leaps and bounds beyond it. He thought it was maybe 220.
Yeah.
So 220 to 230 as a typical 6x6. It was a 6x6. So it was a gigantic mule deer, and he just shot it on the shoulder, shot on right on the point of the shoulder, and that like 65 yards, and yeah, he was sick. He's like, I mean, because I think at the time the world record mule deer was like 207 inches after deductions, net 207. He's like, oh, this one would have netted in the teens. Damn. So yeah, so I wish. I mean, it's Colorado, but now it takes like 10 to 15 years to even draw that unit. Used to,
that's the thing. They don't have over the counter anymore. So when I found that out, I was like, well, crap, dude. Now what am I going to do? So we were talking Nebraska. I eventually will make it out there going after muleys, but
go to Wyoming. Look up Wyoming.
Yeah, I've got a buddy of mine whose dad goes up there, and he was telling me how you can do
hundreds in 3 days. In 3 days in Wyoming in May, I saw hundreds of mule deer. Hundreds. Saw close to 100 elk. Saw over 1,000 whitetails. Probably over 1,000 antelope, and hundreds of mule deer.
Huh?
Yeah.
You might have just changed my mind.
Yeah, Wyoming is a different animal. Like if I was going to move anywhere just to kill everything, that's where I would move. Trophy mule deer, trophy whitetail, trophy elk, trophy antelope, trophy everything.
I'm gonna have to watch some of that on YouTube. Just type in like Wyoming muleys or elk or whiteys or any of that stuff, because I just want to know. Like I want to know where to go, because all I know is Georgia, and I mean I know how to go up to Illinois and do it, and buddies in Michigan, and I want to say like Dustin Huff. He's up in Indiana.
Is Georgia the only state you've ever hunted?
Okay. Yeah.
So you've never been anywhere but Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
You're in for a treat if you start going to the Midwest. I mean, I know that you grew up in Illinois, but you're in for a treat if you go to the Midwest. It'll change your perspective on everything.
In what way?
So
positive or negative?
The deer, okay, if you're talking whitetail, because that's the only thing I can talk on, because that's the only thing I've hunted. Other than a Merriam turkey, and I've only killed one of those. They rut a little harder. The deer are spread out a little bit more. They funnel a little better because of you don't have 100,000 acres of trees.
Yeah.
They do funnel a little better. The problem is like people want to go in the middle of the rut, and because they think that's the easiest time to kill a giant. And yes and no.
Yeah.
But these big deer, you'll see them out in the middle of a cornfield, and they'll just bed down there with a doe, and they won't leave for 3 days, and so there's really nothing you can do.
Yeah.
They respond to calling a little better out in the Midwest. The only problem is out in the Midwest is you got to take a couple dollar bills with you. If you want prime, that's where I have seen like public land is fun, but if you go to an over-the-counter state, it's hard on public land because that's where everybody wants to be.
Yeah.
Especially if you do like the research that you do of what counties that you need to be in. Everybody else has access to that information as well.
Yep.
And they do. A lot of these people do the same type of research that you do. It's the reason why it'll change your perspective is because of the way that they hunt out there. It's a little different. And what I have seen is people don't press into the woods. They hunt a lot more fringes, a lot more edge of the fields. Mm-hmm. I think that's why I'm successful out in the Midwest, because I'm willing to push in.
Yeah.
I'm not scared to scare a deer.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I said, you may only have a 20-acre patch of woods. So how much can you really push into the woods?
Yeah.
Deer, like I said, deer funnel there for the woods better than they do here. The size of the deer that you'll see is a little different. You'll be fooled by a deer's body size versus the horns.
For sure. You see a 120 and you think it's,
Well, no, it's like I let a booner walk because I thought he was 150.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
because his
smaller.
body was so big, and
I
ended up shooting him, and it was like 170, and I thought he was 150 because of his body was so big. I mean, 275 to 300 pound deer. It'll change your perspective going out west compared to here. Like this deer, like right here, that deer weighed 243 pounds and he's 137 inches. I thought he was 120.
Dang.
And then over here, I've shot deer in North Carolina. Like I got a whole, like you can see here. I'm gonna take this right here. Like this is kind of like what you see here. A lot of these are North Carolina deer.
Yeah. God, dude, this is North Carolina.
Yeah, those are all North Carolina. And then those are all North Carolina. And then there's Ohio and Kansas right there. And then that's North Carolina, that one by itself. But like they might weigh 140 pounds. So they look 140 walking in, and it might be a 120-inch deer. So
that's crazy. Look, I have an idea. All right. And I hope Kurt doesn't listen to this because he won't see it coming.
Yeah.
You and me team up. We'll somehow convince Kurt to let us come up there and hunt his property.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't see. That is one thing I will say this. Yes, that would be fun. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, that'd be fun. I don't want to shoot anybody else's deer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd probably feel so much pressure doing.
I wouldn't even feel pressured. It's like if you called me down to your property, right, and he's like, "Hey, dude, I've got a stud on camera. Let's go see if we can kill it." I won't come do it.
But you wouldn't shoot like any smaller deer?
I won't come. I won't come hunt your property. Because unless you have tagged out, it's a little different, right? Because I have enough property of my own that I don't want to go shoot somebody else's deer.
I get that.
I don't want to okay, we can talk about this. And I haven't even covered this in any of my podcasts yet. There's so many people that look for a handout when it comes to hunting, right? And they're like, "Hey man, will you put me on a deer?" Like I'm everybody's best friend when it comes to September 1st. And when September 1st comes in, everybody starts texting me, "Hey man, let's go hunting, blah, 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 blah." And like, I'm like, "Yeah, you're wanting to hunt my properties. Like you don't ever invite me to yours. Even though I won't go to yours, you never invite me." Yeah. I'm a huge believer in do it yourself. Like I'm not a DIY, like, "Oh, I got to do this and kill it this way," but like, I didn't put my time in on your property. Like we didn't go get the property together. Like, and I've killed enough good deer in my life. I've killed a couple big deer, but I've killed enough good deer in my life that I don't want to take what you have worked so hard for away from you. Now, if we're go sitting in a tree stand together and the big buck walks in and he's on your side of the tree and I have no shot, I'm going to punch you in the mouth if you don't shoot him. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead and kill him because you're with me. I'm there and then I watch the deer die. Yeah. But if you're like, if I invite you to come hunting and you come hunt my property, I don't care what deer you shoot. Yeah. If you invite me to your property, I'm bringing my recurve, and then I'll feel a little bit better about maybe shooting a doe or something like that. If the big one come in like, "Hey, I killed it with a recurve," I at least try to make it hard on myself, But I just don't. I don't know. I don't like going to other people's property and shooting their deer because I have enough on mine.
Yeah, I mean, that is. I don't even think I've ever really talked about this either, but I was telling my buddy Thor today, I was like, "Dude, I don't even know what I'm really going to do this season because we keep getting invited to all these different hunts. Like I've got, let's see, 2 properties that are like 2 hours away that I could go hunt if I wanted to. I've got one that's 30 minutes away that it'd be me and this other buddy of mine, and that's it. And it's like, I've got all this work put into my own properties and public land, and it's like, I want to go, but I also, Trike, that deer I showed you, everyone that listens to this knows about that deer. He's the main deer I'm trying to kill. I'm not wasting any time going anywhere else until I go to him, And I don't want to say I'm the same way I wouldn't hunt someone else's property because I've done it, but I hear what you're saying.
Oh, for sure. I've hunted other people's property. No, I've hunted with people on their properties, but I also look at it like this. Like I've been very, very fortunate in the hunting industry. My dad, I grew up with a lot of land to hunt. I never killed giants growing up because my dad was not a firm believer in putting me where the giants are. He put me to where the deer are, and I'm shooting because I was a killer, man. I grew up a killer, and I still am. Like I'm shooting the first spike that walked in when I was growing up, or first doe or 4-pointer, and that's the way I'm going to have my kids grow up. Shooting the first deer that walks in, because you're going to appreciate it as you get older. And And so I've been very fortunate to kill a lot of deer and a lot of bucks and in multiple states. And so there's not as many people that has been as fortunate as I have been. And so whenever they get a big deer on camera, I don't like, and they say, "Hey, Jordan, you want to come hunting with me?" Yeah, man, I'll come sit with you.
Yeah.
I'll come watch you shoot that deer. But I'm not going to go sit in one of your baited stands, or I'm not going to go like you put a tree stand on my back and I'm going to go walk through the woods and find a sign and find that deer.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I'm going to find it, but what if I do?
Yeah, there's a chance.
What if I do and I see that deer? Like, if it's a big deer, I'm not going to let it go, because if you're really friends, you shouldn't be mad at your buddy for shooting a deer. But there has been a lot of relationships that have been lost over their buddies killing a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and my buddies, to me, it's not worth a deer.
Yeah.
So I don't even put myself in a situation to where that conversation could even happen.
Yeah. I mean, I've got one of the guys that I was just telling you about that, he's 2 hours away. He had a 150 on cam last year and he's got a really big 6 this year. And he told us, he's like, we'll do doe day again, because we kind of do like an annual doe day now. Because he's got the most property that isn't like a hunting lease or public or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've already messed with him, like, dude, I'm gonna tell you what, if that 6 point's not dead by the time I get up there, you better believe if he walks out, he's getting an arrow. And he's all like, "Oh no, don't do that." I'm like, dude, I'm kidding. I'm not. I don't mind going somewhere and being like, okay, what deer don't you want me to shoot? Because I've got my own deer I'm after, Yeah. So,
well, see, in my head, like if I invite you to come deer hunting, you come to North Carolina and you sit in a tree and a big deer walks by you and you don't shoot it, I'm going to be pissed at you that you didn't shoot it, because I would rather the person that I invited to come hunt with me kill that deer than a vehicle or a neighbor I don't know. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, but the thing is, I hunt by myself a lot.
Yeah.
I do. And it's not because I don't want people. And I do have people that I take year to year and people that I've seen kill their first deer with a bow and kill some studs with me. But man, I just, for me, myself, I have killed enough deer in my life to where taking that person's big deer away from them and their opportunity, I just don't want to do that. A deer doesn't mean enough to me to do that. Like, now I'll back up and say this: if Lee Lakoski says, "Hey man, you want to come hunt one of my farms?"
Yeah,
I've got 11 booners on this 35-acre tract. Obviously I'm bullshitting, but you would have to be on that level for me to be. And that sounds cocky and pompous, and I apologize if it does, but you'd have to be like on that level for me to be like, okay, yeah, I'll come shoot one of your boners. I don't care. Like,
well, because like those guys are after 200-inch deer every year.
Yeah, well, and then they've killed so many of them.
Exactly.
Like, I want you to be like, I have a buddy of mine, the only guy that I really hunt with. He's killed a lot of big bucks like I have in this area. And if I went to his property and shot a big deer, it's no big deal, because we've hunted together since we were 10 years old. We've killed a lot of big deer together. And so it's not the same in his sense, but he also doesn't have the amount of land that I do. But he still killed a lot of big bucks on a small amount of land.
Yeah.
I've got 23 permission slips in Tennessee. Like, that total is close to about 13,000 acres.
Good God, dude.
I've got 35 permission slips in North Carolina. That totals to about 6,500 acres. And then I've got a 6,500 acre tract I can hunt in Kansas. And so, like, that's the reason why I say that, to say this, like, I don't want to come kill your deer.
Yeah.
I have enough on my plate to go try to kill my own.
See, that's where we're different. I mean, if you've got some does or some cull bucks that you want taken out, I know a guy you can call.
Yeah.
You've got my number.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, like, I will invite you all day to come shoot my deer, but I don't want to come shoot yours. And I'm not saying that they're not on the level. Now, I texted you, I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'd shoot track in just a second. Like, I'd shoot that deer in a second.
Yep.
But if he was on my properties,
of course,
I would feel so bad if I came to Georgia and you sat me in a tree stand 100 yards away and he walked by me and I shot him. I would not, like, I would shoot him.
Yeah,
sure.
If he was at your place.
But No. I mean, like,
Oh,
if
you mean
you
like,
invited me and you said, no, you're going to sit over in that stand, he walked by me, I'm going to shoot him, but I'm going to feel bad about it. Like, I'm going to feel bad for you. I'm
yeah,
not going to feel bad I just took an animal's life
yeah,
because, but I will feel bad that, like, man, like, I hate being put in this situation.
I got you. I mean,
Now, if you
that's
had killed
respectable.
Trike, if you kill Trike and you kill another giant buck and you're like, hey, Jordan, I've got this, this 5-year-old 130-inch 8-pointer. He's showing up and I'm already tagged out. I don't have it. Like, this deer needs to be killed. That's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're hunting that deer the same time that I am, I won't be there.
See, and that's the same way I am. Is like, case in point with last year. My buddy was hunting that 150. Named him, tried to pattern him. Sent me photos all the time, and I was trying to help him. Like, okay, you tried this, it didn't work. Try this, see if that works. Never connected on him. Mm-hmm. And when I went to go hunt there, I said straight up to his face, I'm like, if Ian shows up, what do I do? And he shocked the crap out of me because the year before that, I said the same thing. He's been hunting this deer for 2 years now. I said the same thing. I'm like, if he shows up, what do you want me to do? And the first time he said, don't shoot him. I was like, okay, that's fine. Last year, he's like, if you see him, shoot him. And I'm like, wow, are you sure? I'm like, because I'm the same way, dude. Like, you've been hunting this deer for a while. I don't want to take that from you.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that.
Like, I have been invited on some good hunts around home that I will not go to because I don't want to be put in the situation because I'm still a deer killer. And I'm still like, I still have it in my mind. Like, if I invite you to hunt, I don't care who kills the deer as long as it's dead and it's by one of us. And so my mindset is that same whenever somebody invites me and I go to their property, but I don't know how they're going to react if I shoot that deer.
Because they might tell you.
Yeah. And my friendship with that person is not worth me taking an animal's life.
Yep.
And so that's why I say, like, when I get invited, like, it has to be like there's only just 1 or 2 people that can invite me, like, hey, come hunt my property. And if you shoot one, like, I got a buddy of mine, he had a bunch of property in the mountains. He's like, man, if you kill a good buck, I don't care. I shot and killed a big buck. And dude, like, he was more excited for me. And I'm like, dude, I don't ever get this.
Yeah.
So I like, people aren't excited for me whenever I shoot big deer with them. So, but which, like, I'm not saying like that happens all the time. It's only happened like a time or two in my life, but there's been other results of that, and that's, I don't want there to be any animosity when it comes to an animal dying. Like,
well, man, we have enough drama in the industry and in the community.
We shouldn't have drama between ourselves.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if you heard the episode I did on the rant of Matt Ranella, but that sort of encompasses all of it. If you haven't listened to it, you need to, because
fuck that guy.
Thank you. Finally, someone on the podcast agrees with me.
Fuck that guy.
God, dude.
I understand what he's trying to say. I get what he's trying to say. Like, oh yeah, I don't want, like, these people are just making it harder for deer hunters. Actually, not people like you is what makes it, like, these people that you say that are making it harder for deer hunting are actually causing bigger bucks to die because people say, okay, we've always said this, when I grew up, there was this restaurant. It's called the Mountain House in Allegheny County, North Carolina. You'd go there, it'd be buttonhead, spikes, does. You might see an occasional 75-inch 8-pointer dead. Yeah. Well, when trail cameras came out and your professional deer hunters came out and showing trail cameras, and they're letting 3.5-year-old 8-pointers out of 120 walk by in the Midwest, and all of a sudden now you pull up to that gas station or that restaurant or wherever you are. Now you're not seeing near the deer die, but the deer that are dead are giants, are starting to be bigger. So you're telling me that these people, these professional hunters, or these, I want to get into this for just a little bit. I don't know how long you want this podcast to go. There's so much hate for people that have money that deer hunt. Yeah, there is. Like, and I can play both sides though, because I will say that it is kind of leaning towards a rich man's sport, but we have avenues to do it where that's not the case. So the good thing is, like, and I love that you said that, right? It's a rich man's sport. we live in a country that this is a capitalist country. You can go make as much money as you want to make. And I said this, Thomas and I, we talked about this, the basement decorator, the guy that launches tomorrow morning. And so we talked about this, like and I talked about it with Dawson too, because he's got a lot of money. There's so much hate when it comes to people that have money that deer hunt, but they're the first person that if they hit the lottery and they could go buy a farm in Iowa, they'll do it. Exactly. Like that. I make a very good living. I make a lot of money, right? Now, 95%, 90% of that money goes to my family and what it takes to live in the house that I live in and to raise 2 kids and to make sure my wife lets me go do all this other stuff. Right. And so I take that other 10%, 10 to 15% of that money and put it into deer hunting.
Yeah.
If I made twice as much money as I do now, I would have farms everywhere.
Yep. And
people would still ridicule me and criticize me because they're not willing to make the sacrifices that I make between a job, because I just hate how much hate people get for having money that deer hunt.
Well, and I can tell you, because, I'm clearly, you can see behind me, I'm not swimming in money, right? But I also see it for what it is. And like I said, if it's leaning towards a rich man sport, but there's avenues to do it where you can have the same amount of success. You might have to work a little harder, but you can still do it. I mean, dude, public land, 15 minutes from my house, I saw 160-inch 10-point 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You can kill them. You don't have to have a 1,000-acre farm in Iowa. Yeah. Is it maybe a little, I'm not going to say easier because that's the wrong word, but is it more probable you'll see something like that out there? Yeah. But you have to remember where we're at. I'm in Georgia. You're in North Carolina. We don't have deer like that around every tree.
Yeah.
So I agree, dude. Like, that's one thing I've talked about a lot on this podcast is like the negativity and the hate that I just see everywhere. It's ridiculous, which is what led me to do the Matt Ranella thing. Cause it's like, dude, you're going on a big podcast bashing some of my friends. First off, that pissed me off. And then Kevin wants to go on there and not defend them when I know he knows them.
Which I love. I love that he did it. I love that he said what he said on that podcast. I listened to it today, actually, because Kurt don't give a shit.
That's true.
That's because
that is true.
The reason why I love that. I love that he said it about Kurt and them. Now, I wouldn't say it about other people because Kurt and them can handle that shit. Now it's part of their intro music.
I know. I love it.
And so that's why I love that they said it, because Kurt can feed off of that. That's fuel. Like, no, let's see, bad press is still press.
Yeah.
Like, and because he said it about that, like, I love that. I love he said it, man. I absolutely love he said it because I know what Kurt's thinking. Like, Kurt's like, I don't give a shit what you have to say about me.
Yeah.
Like, there's people that I know for a fact that do not like my podcast, because when you think about Southern people, you think about manners and you don't cuss, you don't drink, you don't talk about drinking, and it's all about the Bible. Well, I ain't that kind of person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a Christian man, but I'm a Christian man in my own way. I drink beer. I talk about it. I have a good time. We cuss. We talk about women. I'm like Trump. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of conversations that I've had that if they were recorded, I'd probably be on the news too. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people like Matt Ranella don't have any other avenue. Like, okay, I can appreciate what he's doing. I can.
100%.
I can appreciate what he's doing, and the one thing about Matt Ranella is he doesn't change his story or change the way he is. And I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can respect that he doesn't change for anybody. And so I will always have respect for that. But I'll also have respect if he wants to talk shit. Like, I'm not near enough, and I'll probably never be big enough to where he'll ever have my name in his mouth. Right. But if he ever did, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Like, whenever he calls the working class guys unhinged, fuck yeah, they're unhinged.
Yeah, that's why they're fun. That's one of my favorite things about them.
That's the reason why I want to talk to them. That's the reason why I was buddies with them, because they're not scripted.
Well, what killed me about it is Matt obviously didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I mean,
Like,
I don't know how well you can. I know what he was. Whenever he was saying, if you listen, it's about 25 minutes into that deer hunting
mhm.
podcast. But like saying that they're homophobes and stuff like that. I'm like, one of their
Dude,
best friends is a
yeah,
lesbian, Casey, and she's
yep.
badass. That's one of their
I
best friends.
Yeah, I heard that and I'm like, oh, that's what made me realize he didn't know what he was talking about. Because I'm like, dude, you probably listened to a clip, from when he had that one guy on that was like, the internet's bad for hunting. And
Yeah,
he even referenced that. And he was like, yeah, they had this clip and they fit it to their agenda.
that's
And
how
I'm
the
like,
whole
no,
entire
they
conversation
didn't.
came about.
Yeah. I was like, no, they didn't,
Kevin
dude.
said something. Kevin said like, "Oh yeah, they had that guy on the social media guy on the working class bow hunter," and he's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah,
these guys are unhinged," And I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" Like I listened to that literally today at 3 o'clock.
dude.
That's
Yeah.
how.
My buddy listened to that and he had to turn it off. He's like, I can't listen to this. I'm like, yeah, dude, it took me 2 days because I was annoyed. And like, I don't usually get annoyed by stuff like that,
Mhm.
but I'm very like, I'm gonna back the working class guys
Mhm.
till the day I die, right? Like
Oh yeah,
they're such good dudes. And when Kurt hooked us up and then I saw your logo and you had the working class antler in the corner, I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like that's my kind of guy, right?
yeah,
Just I didn't even know you yet. And I'm like, all right, this dude's gonna be cool. Cause I know how they are.
yeah,
And for someone to go out there and just blatantly not even know anything about it, I had to say something.
yeah.
So
And that's listen. That's the one good thing is about the working class guys is they don't give a fuck
mhm.
what you say. They don't care. I'm the same way. I'm the same. I don't care what you say. There's going to be people that probably ridicule me for what I say on every podcast that I do from here on out.
Let
There's
them
going to
hate.
be a hater. And you
Yeah.
know what? Good. You still listen to it. You still made me some money.
God, dude.
That's the way I look at it.
I
And
mean, that's the best way to look at it. And honestly, because unfortunately I have to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, that's probably the best way to wrap this one
yeah,
up.
yeah,
But
yeah,
look, Jordan, man, honestly, dude, it was really fun getting you on here, and I want
yeah,
to do it again when season starts.
yeah.
I want to give Kurt a shout out for hooking us up, and you know,
Absolutely. Well,
I,
hey, the
I
next podcast that we do, I'll just have you on mine.
hey, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm cool with it. We
yeah.
can
We'll
do the
just do it on
same
mine. Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
But real quick, man, give us a little shameless plug. That way people can find you and
yeah.
get to hear everything that you're doing.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. That's the only thing for my podcast that I have is on Instagram or Spotify and stuff like that, obviously. But social media wise is Hunt MD Pod. That's where you can find me on Instagram. I have a personal Instagram, bowhunter_Jones, just as far as my personal life between my wife and kids and stuff like that. Some hunting stuff on there. But yeah, I mean, I'll have a Facebook page starting here soon, but you can listen to me on Spotify, Hunting the Mason Dixon, Apple, Google, where basically pretty much anywhere you hear your podcast. That's where you can find me. If you want to listen to some, cussing, drinking, talking about some good old Southern guys, that's where you'll find us. So, yep.
There you go, man. Couldn't have said
And
it better
Eric, I
myself.
appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, brother.